Well, I'm Dennis Ross. I'm the mayor of Maupin. We're certified at 490. I like to say 500 because Mosier only has 490, and it upsets him when I say our town is bigger. Mark Berry will never forgive me for that. We're born as a crossing of the river down here and evolved into a farming community and a logging community, and both of those industries have pretty much gone downhill, and now our main economic engine is the river, and that's only 5 months long. So we had to find something for people to do to build up the economy, and we'd rather do it from the grassroots than wait for a smokestack to come over the hill, even if it's the smokestack is built out of microchips. The Dalles did that quite successfully, and they got Google in here, but Maupin's a little remote for that. Well, when I first got on the council, it must have been the year 99 or something like that, I picked up a Local Focus, which is the magazine for the League of Oregon Cities, and in the middle of it, it had an article about Joseph, Oregon. So I thought that was a pretty interesting place to go visit. So I hopped in the car one day and went over there and talked to them and talked to how they were doing their business enterprises, looked at their main street, what they were doing with all the sculpting. And you go in a little bitty town like Joseph and you expect to hear people talking about how the fishing is and how much it snowed up on a mountain. And I overheard a conversation. These guys are talking about what's in the Wall Street Journal and what things look like in Salem and what kind of effects all these business things are happening over there. And I thought, that's a pretty dinging advanced way to think in a small town. So I got to thinking about that all the way home. And she had mentioned a guy named Ernesto Ciroli. And she said, if you ever get a chance, get a book called Ripples from the Zambezi. So that's the first thing I did when I got home, and I read that thing, and that's what converted me to Ernesto. I don't know what else to do. I really don't. Why do I spend 30 to 40 hours a week at a job that doesn't pay anything? I don't know how to do it any other way. And I would like, and one of the reasons that I was interested in Ernesto's program is that there was guidance there on how to do things right, and I don't have to back up and try something else that doesn't work.
You guys have to watch the videos that we have sent to you. You have to shortlist to maybe 4 or 5 candidates.
Because that way we can make the match between a little better between our potential facilitator and the people that we think he's going to be working with. What kind of a person? They got to come in some kind of a category that does that.
Okay. Get someone who is like Myron Kirkpatrick, whose background was to help these 2 entrepreneurs start a company, and the company was Costco.
Well, he's already done that, and he knows a lot of people that have done that, and they know how to weed out things that don't work. So I figure that if we could get this going somehow, we would have a measure of success all the way from the beginning. So one of the first things I did after I read that whole thing is I called up Dora and Yvonne, where we're holding down the fort, and I asked them a few questions, and I told them where we were, and one thing led to another. And after my first term as on the council, I ran for mayor and lost by 11 votes. To a 13-year incumbent, and they thought so much of her at the county level that they pulled her up to be a county commissioner, and the guys whose arms I'd twisted to get on the council got even with me and appointed me mayor. And then we could get going, and that going to meetings and all the stuff that a mayor should be doing, and me just getting familiar with the state, I ran into the Y East organization. Patricia and Merlin came in the office here and said, would you be interested in going over to Baker for a seminar with Ernesto? And I said, I'm sorry, I can't because I've already signed up for the economic games in Ellensburg. But would you take somebody else? And they said, sure. And so the city put up the money to send a guy named Rob Miles, and he went over.
Going to the observatory in Baker City, I knew nothing about enterprise facilitation. I had no clue, had never heard of Ernesto Ciroli or the Ciroli Institute. I knew nothing about ripples from the Zambezi. So it was all news to me. And the way that Ernesto presented the information at the observatory was really powerful to me. I really grasped onto the trinity of management and how no one can be good at all of it. And so to me it was a huge relief to go to that and learn that, well, I should back up. I've always been told and mentored that no one can do it as good as you can. You're the owner, you have to be the best at it. You must be the best at marketing. No one can do it as good as you are. You're the owner. No one can manage the finances like you. It's your money. And so it's pounded, you know, the entrepreneurial myth was pounded into my head that it's you. You have to do it. No one can do it as good as you. And so learning that that's not true and that it's an incredible lie was huge to me. It was huge to me to learn that no one is good as good at all three of those, and that was very powerful.
And so we brought all that together. I was learning the traditional economic development stuff, and to me that's a lot of work. There's a lot of squares being filled. There's a lot of, it's a different process, totally different process. And I like the one where you're focusing on somebody that has an idea. If you got somebody that has an idea and you ask them enough questions, they're going to figure out whether it's a good idea or not. And that's pure and simple what this thing is. So Y East, when they came to me and said, we want to do the Ciroli thing, I leaped on it. And I said, we got $5,000 for you right now. And we put that as in-kind and picked up another $75 and threw in another $5 that we had from that we got from USDA RBEG. When I was in the military, the technology we have today was just beginning. By the time I got to Boeing, I remember having 3 computers on my desk, a Sun, an Apple, and a PC. And so we watched all this go, and we watched the internet build, and we all of a sudden were able to send messages to each other. And now these messages can be sent so that you've got a face behind it and you can talk behind it. And we can communicate across the web or see what each other is doing. We can use the net to do business in very remote places, in very small cities. If I've got something, a small something, that can combine with a small something else, and together they're synergistic. If your idea produces something that is useful to other people, not necessarily marketable to them, but for them, that they can recombine and market. It's like Boeing building an airplane. You know, they got a part in China, they got a part in Alabama. If you were put aside, say, a marketing or an information budget line, for want of a better term, then this whole thing would pay for itself. It would sustain itself. It would grow. That would create new partnerships throughout the small communities. Me and Gordon and the mayor of Brisbane and Paul Cook and Chris Childs and all those forward-thinking guys. So ideas like this, these are kind of ideas that we have already got the capability, limited capability, right here within Maupin to do business over the net.